Okay, here I am sitting in the middle of this hemlock forest, which is also actually a fern forest, fern grotto, and surrounded by ferns, these things, which again, as I showed you, have not sporulated yet. That'll be later on in a few months. But I came to talk about common sense. In the old days, where I was from, we had this thing called common sense. Even though the joke was common sense is not too common, but was something basically what we called smarts that allowed you to survive. For example, foraging, eating out in the forest. How do you survive? How do you know what to eat, what not to? So anyway, one big factor is called common sense. So here's my point for common sense. This whole forest is covered in ferns. The whole carpet of the forest is ferns. These ferns, like this one right here, ferns. Okay, why are they here? This place is full of deer. I can tell you, there's deer everywhere. There's probably one watching me right now. And I just saw some bear signs over there, so there's bears chasing deer. There's cougars here chasing deer. The reason is that there are a lot of deer here. It's just full of deer, and there's no hunting. And so why are all these ferns here? If the deer are here and they ate them, they wouldn't be here, would they? But this whole carpet is full of ferns. So what does common sense tell you about this? And ask your kids what that means. Ask, if you're a teacher, ask your students, what does that mean? What does common sense tell you about a forest full of ferns that have not been touched, and also a forest full of deer and other animals, including mosquitoes? Okay, what does that tell you? Well, it tells you, as I pointed out in previous lectures, these ferns are in fact poisonous, and the deer don't eat them, or none of the animals eat them. You can see nothing here has been chewed on, totally intact. And this is a forest full of deer, full of animals, squirrels, goats, mountain goats as well. They don't eat them either. Bears don't eat them. Why don't bears eat them? Bears eat everything. They're kind of like the pigs of the forest. They eat everything, except they don't eat ferns. And I will show you a few other of my topics that I've done recently in lectures on video. That, for example, the poison berries, the fireweed, things like that. Morning glories, all of those are left untouched. But they'll eat the grass, the non-toxic things. But you notice ferns all over the place. It's carpeted with ferns everywhere. The deer don't touch them. That tells you something. Common sense. What does that mean? Okay, I'll let you figure it out. Until my next segment. Thank you. Over and out. Okay, here I am with the poison berry or poison sumac to make my point about common sense. Now have a look at this bush. The berries are all on the bush still, to the point that they're going brown and shriveling up, and nothing has touched them. What does that tell you in common sense? Have a look. What does that tell you? Common sense, common sense. All these berries, and I can see them for a mile in each direction on the road here. Both sides of the road, berries way down there, or blocked down there. I can see them growing on the side of the road, and here they are here. Nice big bushes with covered in red, bright red berries. And let me take you across the street here. Same thing. Bright red berries. Bright red berries. Bright red berries. All loaded up. Not one has been touched. What does that tell you? Common sense? What does it tell you? I would say common sense tells me leave them alone. That would be common sense. Now, I showed you this field about 3 months ago, and it was full of toxic plants and flowers. Now most of them are gone except for the buttercups. But you can see the horses have grazed on the grass. But there is one thing they didn't touch. Those long poles sticking up. Those are the finished flowering foxgloves. So common sense. Even the horses know not to touch the foxgloves. They left all the foxgloves there. They left all the buttercups. And again, common sense. Horses have it. Why don't we? Okay. So these are toxic fern fiddleheads. Nothing else eats them, so you don't either. More toxic fern, do not eat. Most types are toxic. Foxgloves, extremely toxic. Many people die from this every year. Digitalis toxin. This is one of the main sources, is foxgloves. No one eats them, so don't. Poison berries, poison sumac, poisonous. Nothing eats them, so you don't either. Again, common sense. Here's the definition. Good sense and sound judgment in practical matters. And then a bunch of synonyms that go along with it. Please continue to get more information, see my other videos, subscribe to my channel by pressing on my cartoon in the next segment. And thank you for your support. Have a good day, have a good life, and stay away from poisons. Thank you.